Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Also, I really appreciate everyone who has been subscribing and liking and commenting. It really means a lot to me, and I really appreciate all the support on my channel, and I'm so glad you guys are enjoying my content. And as long as you guys are enjoying it, then I will continue to make it because I'm enjoying creating content for you guys as well. So I actually haven't filmed in like a week or so I'm really excited to be back filming. I did want to mention to you guys that I joined Lemon8 today. It's an app that is similar to Pinterest, and it's starting to gain more popularity, and I just really like it since I've been on there, you know, just exploring and looking around. So I decided to create an account for myself. My post over there will be similar to the types of things that I post about on YouTube. So if you guys are interested, I will leave my @handle in the video. And also, for those of you that don't have the app, I will leave a link in the description box. I'm just going to post some things over there that I post on YouTube, but I'm also going to be posting things that I don't post on YouTube as well. It'll be other types of posts too. So the video that I'm doing today is just going to be on spring fragrances. Lately, the weather has been kind of back and forth. Like, we've had some days like today where it's in the 60s, and then we'll have days where it's in the 70s. So for like the past 4 or 5 days, I've really kind of been like switching back and forth between my fragrances. For the longest time now, since we've been into spring, I have been using my sweet, creamy, and candy-like floral fragrances. And I did a whole video on those, but just an example of what I'm talking about. This is the fragrance that I wore today. This is Sweet Petal Pound Cake. It has notes of candied rose, raspberry swirl, and frosted bundt cake. This is the type of fragrances that I have been reaching for since we have been in spring. These are florals, but they're very candy-like and sweet. And some of them are creamy, some of the ones I've been wearing. And so these have been great for wearing spring fragrances that have florals in them, but are also compatible with the cooler weather that we've been having. And I've really been enjoying these, and I am still reaching for these some. Well, I've been reaching for them, I would say, every other day lately, because we have been having some weather that has been getting warmer. Not that these are not great for warm weather too, but I'm wanting to wear some of my more fragrances that are more just like a straight floral scent, which I also have another video on as well. Or my fragrances like these that are, they're springy, but they're more like crisp and fresh. Most of them, not all of them. So I've been alternating back and forth between these and then my floral fragrances, or my other spring fragrances, which we're going to talk about in this video. Whenever I was wearing these more, I was really enjoying it. But like I said, the last 4 or 5 days, I've been alternating because we are starting to get into some warmer weather. Like today, it's in the 60s, but we've had some days where it was in the 70s, and also some where it got up to the 80s. So I've been alternating some a little bit throughout spring and a little bit more frequently within the last 4 or 5 days. And so now we're going to be moving into these fragrances right here along with my florals. And I will still reach for these some, but less and less as we get more towards the hotter weather. And of course, summer, I will have completely different fragrance categories that I'm reaching for then. So again, this is what I wore today. I have another fragrance that I paired with this. This has raspberry swirl. So I chose this fragrance right here to pair it with. This is Candy Hearts by Pink by Victoria's Secret. And it has notes of raspberry macaron and sugared praline. So because this had the raspberry in here, I paired these two together. This one does not have any florals in it, but I just wore it because it paired well with this. So this is what I wore today, and I was just wanting to show y'all an example of what I was talking about when I say that I have been wearing my sweet, creamy, candy-like florals. That's what I've been wearing because we've had cooler days, so it was a way for me to get in, you know, the florals since it's spring, and then also get in some sweet creaminess and candy fragrances that are, like I said, very compatible with like the cooler weather, in my opinion. So I've really been enjoying doing that. But now, since we're going to be in the hotter weather, I'm going to be reaching for just straight floral fragrances, and then these fragrances as well. These are other types of spring fragrances that are not really florals. They have florals in them, but they don't smell just like a straight up floral scent. I do have one or two in here that do, and really those should have been in my floral video that I did on the first day of spring, but I must have missed them whenever I was gathering the fragrances for that video, because I found a couple that were in a whole different section. So I did include those in here, and I'll talk more about those when I get to them. But yeah, so like I said, the weather has kind of flip-flopped for the past like 4 or 5 days, but I was looking at the forecast, and it's supposed to continue to do that, I think, for 2 or 3 days, and then we're going to be in the 80s. So I personally, and I mentioned this in most of my fragrance videos, what I wear really revolves around the weather, and I personally prefer fragrances that are more crisp or clean. And not all these are like a clean fragrance, but most of them are more crisp, but they're not straight up floral scents either. So I wanted to talk about this fragrance category because I have already done a video on just floral fragrances. I did that video on the first day of spring. But my florals are also fragrances that I will be reaching for as well. Most floral fragrances are crisp, clean, fresh, with a little bit of the floral sweetness thrown in. So I will definitely be reaching for those and these more as we get farther into spring. And like I said, I checked the forecast, and the weather's still going to be flip-flopping a little bit, but then we're going to be in the 80s. So I definitely want to start reaching more for like these and my florals. So we'll get started with this fragrance over here. This is Carried Away by Bath & Body Works, and the fragrance notes in this are lush raspberries, juicy pear nectar, white jasmine, and whipped vanilla. It says, let the feeling of sweet nostalgia sweep you off your feet. Whenever I purchased this at SAS, that it did remind me of spring, and I actually didn't even wear this one after I purchased it. I might have worn it like one time, but I knew that this was a fragrance that I wanted to save and just wear when we got into warmer weather. So this is a very crisp, fresh, clean, fruity fragrance, and it's fruity from the raspberries that are in here, and probably a little bit of the juicy pear nectar as well. So yeah, so that's what this smells like in my opinion, and it just makes me think of spring. This is a spring fragrance in my opinion. Again, it's got the raspberries in there and the juicy pear nectar and a little bit of the white jasmine. As I said, a lot of these do contain floral notes in them, but they don't smell like straight up florals. And some of them you can tell that the floral is blended in there. But these are not just straight up floral fragrances. Like I said, I did find maybe one or two that were more like floral fragrances that I probably should have put in my floral video that I filmed on the first of spring, or the first day of spring. But I will point those out when I get to those. So if you're a person that like you love spring and you like spring fragrances, but you're not a floral person, then this video is definitely for you, because I know there's people that don't care for florals or don't like florals. And I personally love florals, but I do hear a lot of people say, more than I would expect for me being a person that does enjoy florals, I do hear people say occasionally that they just don't really wear florals or they don't care for them. So I would say if that's what kind of person you are, then this is probably fragrances that you will enjoy, because they do smell like spring. They're very reminiscent of spring, but they don't smell like florals, except for, like I said, a couple of them that I did include, but I'll point those out when I get to them. But yeah, again, this is just a sweet, clean, fresh, crisp, fruity fragrance. It's not super sweet, but it has just a little bit of sweetness in it. Next, we have this apple fragrance right here. This is by Bath & Body Works. It's one of the new fragrances that just came out. This has fragrance notes of apple, strawberry, and rain, and it says create a custom routine to meet your lifestyle. So I did a full review on this fragrance on my YouTube channel, and I had said in that video that this fragrance is sort of like pearberry in a way, which I have right here. But this is another one that's crisp, clean. This one is shampoo-y, and this one is a little bit more sweet than the Carried Away fragrance that I was talking about earlier. But this one is really delicious. Usually anything with an apple note makes me think of spring. I have a lot of apple fragrances in this video that we'll talk about. So I definitely wanted to include this because this is one that I'm going to go very heavy on probably within the next few weeks, because it is part of this whole scent category that I am going to want to get into and wear a lot of. It's just very crisp and sweet and shampooey and just really delicious. I really love this fragrance so much, and apple notes definitely make me think of spring, so I always pull these out during spring and use them, the apple fragrances that I have in here. Of course, this one is new. I just added this to my collection, and then I always take these back out during fall as well. So usually spring and fall is when I wear the apple fragrances the most. But yeah, so I really like this one, and this one's definitely a spring fragrance in my opinion. So next we have a very obvious one. This is Butterfly by Bath & Body Works. I believe this actually came out during spring when it originally came out. This one has notes of raspberry nectar, iris petals, and airy vanilla. So raspberry always makes me think of spring. But the way this raspberry is blended in here, like you can smell it, but the raspberry does not stand out in a very distinct way. Like it doesn't make the fragrance tart or smell like raspberry is the main thing in here or anything like that. It's just blended in here very well, along with the iris petals and the airy vanilla. This just blends together to create a very nice spring fragrance. And Butterfly always makes me think of spring. So of course I had to include it. But yeah, sweet raspberry. It's got that little bit of vanilla in there and the iris petals. It all just blends together very well to create a unique spring fragrance, in my opinion. So yeah, this is a good one. Okay, so next we have the new Bridgerton fragrance by Bath & Body Works. This is called Diamond of the Season. This smells very much like spring, in my opinion. I did a whole review on this fragrance, and it's on my channel if you guys are interested in that. But the fragrance notes are sparkling peach, spring daffodil, and radiant jasmine. It's crisp from the sparkling peach that's in here. And it's clean. It's sweet. You can kind of pick out the florals that are in here, but this definitely does not read off as just a straight up floral fragrance or anything like that. It's almost a little bit antiseptic, but not in a bad way. Like it almost reminds me of some type of like household cleaner, but not in a bad way at all, in a very good way. In my opinion, the sweetness that's coming through in this is probably from the sparkling peach. I feel like I smell some sweet peachiness that's coming through. So I think that's what that's from. But I'm sure the daffodil and the jasmine are also adding some sweetness to this as well. This is a really, really good fragrance. I started to get a backup of this, but I don't have a backup yet, and I don't know if I will get one, but it's really good. It also reminds me a little bit of like a honey fragrance, and honey is another fragrance note that I associate very heavily with spring, and I have some honey fragrances in here that we'll talk about too. But I kind of feel like it was purposeful that they made this smell like a honey scent. Honey is not listed in the notes. That's not to say it's not in here. And it doesn't smell exactly like a honey note. It's just very similar. And I feel like it's more likely that it's just fragrance notes in here that are similar to a honey scent than it is actually a honey scent. But I also do feel like it was a little bit purposeful that they made this smell a little bit like honey, in my opinion. Especially with there being a bumblebee on here. And it being, I think this was definitely supposed to be like a spring fragrance, since it just came out and it smells like spring. It makes people think of spring, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely wanted to include that one. Okay, and then next is Tutti Frutti Candy. I do have the lid to this, but I don't know where it's at. I think it fell out in my car, and I started to not put this in my video without a lid because I was like, does that look tacky with it not having a lid on it? But then I was like, I know you guys really don't care, and neither do I, so I didn't worry with going and getting a lid for it. But I absolutely had to include Tutti Frutti Candy because this screams springtime to me, because this is like an Easter scent. So I definitely wore this on Easter. I say it's an Easter scent because it usually comes out around Easter, And I want to say this year's bottle has a bunny rabbit on it. I'm not sure. This is last year's bottle, but it's got the jelly beans on here, which I think a lot of people associate with Easter time. And on the back, it says the notes are sweet jelly beans, mixed berries, and sugared lemon. It says spring into the season of sweet surprises and fruity treats. So this is a really good spring fragrance in my opinion. This one is not like the other ones that I have talked about. This isn't crisp. This is way more of like a candy fragrance, but it's a candy fragrance that you can definitely wear in the spring, and even when the weather starts to get really hot outside. I received a phone call, so I had to accept that phone call, and but we're back now. And I was just saying that this is a fragrance that is great for spring, and it is candy-like, but this is not a candy-like fragrance that I could see myself only wearing when it's colder weather. This is one you can wear year-round, even if it's like super hot outside. This is still a comfortable fragrance to wear. Like I said, even if it was like the heat of the summer, like this is something that you could still wear during that time. And if you've been watching my videos, then you know I'm very sensitive to like the weather and like what types of fragrances I wear when it's hot or when it's cold. Everything usually revolves around what the weather's doing. And it's more of like a tart sweetness, and it's really good and great for this time of year, because I feel like this fragrance reminds people of Easter. I know that I wore it on Easter, and I paired it with Victoria's Secret Sugar Fleur. That's the perfume and body mist that I paired this one with. And that all went together very well. And so yeah, it makes me think of Easter, it makes me think of spring, and it's a sweet candy fragrance that is still great for even when it gets really hot outside. It's not uncomfortable to wear this or anything. So I really appreciate that about this fragrance, because this is one of my favorite scent categories right here, is these like sweet candy-like fragrances. But a lot of them I will only wear once it cools down. I don't really want to wear it when it gets really hot outside or anything. But like I said, we are fixing to get into the 80s, and as far as the temperatures are concerned, and I feel like this is something that will still be comfortable during that time. So yeah, so this is a really good one. Had to include it. Okay, so the next two fragrances I have are both very similar. I got these from TJ Maxx. They're by The Good Scent. One is Golden Sunflower and Honeycomb, and the other one is Sweet Honey Sunflower. And it says that the fragrance notes are sugared honey and sunflower petals. So these are very similar. They smell basically the exact same. And as I was saying, I really love honey notes, but they're especially good to me in the spring and in the fall time. So I wanted to include these because these are some that I definitely want to get some use out of in the spring. And I also have lots of fragrances that I like to pair with these, and perfumes that I like to pair with these, because I'm very much into sunflower notes in fragrances and honey notes in fragrances as well. And I really like that combination. So these are really good. But these are not like when the honey in here smells like a pure honey scent. Like it's not like a artificial creamy fake honey scent or anything like that. It just smells very pure, very sweet and sugary. And there's also a little bit of tart sweetness in this. So they don't really smell like true sunflower scents, but they definitely don't smell bad, because when I think of sunflower smells a little bit different to me than what the sunflower notes in here smell like. But that's not to say at all that it smells bad in any way. It's just a different sunflower than what I'm used to. But I still pair these with sunflower fragrances, and it usually goes together really well. I have some new combinations that I want to try this year. But these are both really good. Like I said, they're pretty much the exact same thing. They just each smell like one of them has a little bit more sunflower, and then the other one smells like it's got a little bit more of the honey note. But I did mention sunflower fragrances in my floral video that I made on the first day of spring. So obviously I want to wear some sunflower fragrances, and I'm still, even though it's a different sunflower scent than what's in here, I still want to pair them with these and get some use out of them that way. I'm not sure if they still have these at TJ Maxx or not, but either way, these make me think of spring. I've had these in my collection for a while. You can see I've used a good bit of both of these. But these, again, they make me think of spring. They also make me think of fall. I usually take these out. Well, I do wear these during fall. I actually wear these year round. Every season I take these out and use them. But these are also really good as transitional scents whenever we're going from summer to fall. These are excellent for that. And I always use them for that too. So these are really good. Again, let me see if I'll spray this out and see if I can give a better description. So this particular one, it smells like the honey. But the honey is not like super strong in these. Again, the honey that's in here does smell like a true honey note. It's just kind of faint. I was going to see if it has any other notes on the back, and I don't see any. But you smell the honey, and then there's like some mellow sweetness that I believe is supposed to be the sunflower. So I don't really smell like a true sunflower scent in this, but it still smells really good. It's got that honey fragrance note in it, and then it's got like some mellow sweetness to it. Almost reminds me of like an apricot note. That's how this one smells. So I really like that one. And then this one, like I said, they're very similar. One of them just smells like it's got more of one of the notes than the other one has, and vice versa. So this one smells like it's got more of probably like the sunflower note in it. This one has more of that like tart sweetness to it that I guess is supposed to be from the sunflower note that's in here. And this is actually a honeycomb note instead of the sugared honey. So you don't really smell the honey as much in this one, in my opinion. But it's definitely very sweet. Like I said, the sweetness in here is like a tart sweetness. It almost kind of reminds me of like an apricot scent. So this is a good one, and they're both really good. But like I said, they say golden sunflower and honey, and then sweet honey sunflower. But these don't really smell exactly like what the name implies. Like you do get like a little bit of that honey in the other one, the authentic honey scent, but it's just like a little bit of it. The rest of it is just like a tart sweetness that's really good, and that's how this one smells as well. And you don't smell as much of the honey in this one, but they're both really good and perfect for right now. So I definitely want to use them because honey scents are very special to me in the springtime, and I have some good perfumes and other body mists that make me think of this time of year that will pair really well with these. So then I have Honey Mist by Pink by Victoria's Secret. The fragrance notes in this are honey drizzle, purple dahlia, and whipped vanilla. Whipped vanilla, not whipped vanilla. I think I was trying to say dahlia or something. Anyway, so on the back it says addicting, creamy honey, warm with notes of honey drizzle, purple dahlia, and whipped vanilla. So this one is got that pure, it's got that pure like honey scent in it, but this also has some gourmand sweetness to it. And I believe I featured this in some of my other like gourmand videos that I've already posted before. I'm sure that I have. This is the only one out of these fragrances that I feel like I wouldn't want to wear when it's the hottest time of the year. And I also would not reach for this one once it gets really hot during the spring as well, more than likely. But other than that, this is perfect for right now because it's got that true honey scent, but this one just has like a little bit more of gourmand sweetness in it from that whipped vanilla. So it is good for right now, but I wouldn't wear this on the hottest days of spring. I would more than likely wear this probably within the next few days. But I'm pretty sure after this week, the next week that we're going to have the temperatures that are in the 80s, like they'll probably go back down a little bit to where it'll still be comfortable to wear this. But I would see myself wearing this like to work when I know I'm going to be indoors. Again, I have lots of fragrances that will pair really well with this, specifically like perfumes and stuff. So I do still want to wear this one. This is another one that I wear. Well, I won't say that I wear it year round because I don't really reach for it in the summertime, but I do use it as a transitional fragrance once we start going from summer to fall. But really once it gets closer to like fall, or we're already in fall and we're, you know, in that transitional phase, that's when I wear this. I don't think I really wear this at all during the summertime, more like in the winter, the spring, and the fall. But this is a really good fragrance, and perfect for right now. But I would say on the days when it's not the hottest days that we're going to have in spring, because I could still wear this on a warm day, but I think I'd like to wear it when I know I'm going to be inside, like if I'm going to be working all day and then going straight from work to home or whatever. You know, this will be fine for that. But yeah, I love honey fragrance notes in the spring. That's why I wanted to include this one. Okay, so next we have Rainbow Shower from Victoria's Secret. This has notes of vivid plumeria and dewy pear. It says painting the sky. So this is a really good fragrance for when you just want to smell really nice. This is a fragrance that stays with the fragrances in my collection that are more like fresh and clean fragrances. That's what this makes me think of, and that's where I took this from when I was gathering fragrances to make this video. So when I smell this, I definitely right off the bat, I smell the dewy pear. And then the vivid plumeria comes through next. But to me, this is sweet and a little bit floral. But overall, this is a more fresh and clean scent that I like to wear whenever I just want to smell clean and nice. That's what this makes me think of. Within my fresh and clean fragrances that I have in my room, I have a really big collection of those because that's one of my favorite scent categories. So what I do is I usually leave all of those out year round, and I just kind of like, I rotate them during the different seasons. And this is one that will be towards the front right now because this is one that I feel like is more reminds me of spring than some of the other ones do. But again, this is just more of like a clean, fresh scent. And because it's got that pear in there, it really reminds me of spring. And also, you know, the plumeria. But pear notes and apple notes both make me think of spring. So I guess that's why I associate this one with spring when I smell it. So yeah, but I definitely wanted to include this. Even with my fresh and clean scents that I wear year round, within that scent category, I still rotate those around like... and I will, even if I rotate them around like for the seasons, I still have like so many of them that I will rotate them like, you know, every couple weeks or whatever. After I've got some use out of those, then I'll rotate and, you know, use some of my other ones. And this is one of those that I like to use during the spring. So yeah. Okay, so next I've got this 360 Degrees Coral by Perry Ellis for women. This is the fragrance mist of one of the Perry Ellis perfumes. This just smells like a really sweet, bright, blooming, bursting floral fragrance. And this is one of those that I feel like maybe I should have just included it in my floral video when I filmed it. But it is called 360 Degrees Coral. So I'm sure there's other notes in here besides the floral fragrance notes that are really obvious in this. So I don't know if this was really intended to be just a straight up like floral perfume, but you definitely smell the florals in here. It's very bright, blooming, bursting, open, vibrant. I think it's a little bit fruity too, like not much, but I feel like there's got to be a little bit of fruits thrown in here. It definitely does not smell like a fruity floral. It smells floral more than anything. But I feel like there's probably got to be a little bit of fruits in there too. But yeah, so this is just another fragrance mist that makes me think of spring because of all the florals are in here. Yeah, so I wanted to include it in the video as well. Again, this is not just like a body mist. This is the body mist spray version of the perfume by Perry Ellis. But I still wanted to include it. And then I have another body mist version of a perfume. This is Real Tree American Trail. I don't know how y'all feel about camo, but I'm not a camo person. So just looking at this bottle kind of like deters me from wanting to use this. But nonetheless, it's a really, really good scent and I really like it. I don't detest camo or anything like that. And this camo on here doesn't look that bad. It's just, camo in general is not my vibe. So that's all I was trying to say about that. But this is another one that it had a fragrance lid. I don't know if it still has a fragrance lid. I'm sure I could find one for it, but I just didn't worry with putting one on it before I filmed this. I don't know the fragrance notes to this body mist, but again, I believe this is the body mist version of their perfume. But I do know that this just smells... this is just a sweet and clean, bright fragrance that probably has some florals in it, but whenever I smell of this, it makes me think of spring. This is kind of similar to some of these fragrances right here. Like, it reminds me a lot of, like, especially butterfly. It's not similar to butterfly. It just reminds me of that kind of fragrance. I like to use this one during the springtime. And I actually don't ever reach for this much, but with it being such a fresh and clean scent, it's one that I could definitely put with my fresh and clean scents. I just don't keep it over there. I keep it with, I have a specific section where I keep my fragrance mists that are the fragrance mist version of perfumes. So I don't keep this with my fresh and clean scents. I used to, but since I have the section in my room now where I keep the fragrance mist version of perfumes, then this stays over there. But this is definitely fresh and clean and bright, and it's got a little bit of floral in it, so it definitely makes me think of spring. And then I have one more in this video that is the fragrance mist version of a perfume. This is Capri by Vince Camuto. Really, really love this. It has a flower on it, and even the colors of the packaging make me think of spring. But this one right here definitely reads off as like a little bit floral, but also really sweet. And it kind of smells like the sweetness in here is from like an orchid or something similar to the scent of an orchid. And I'm not sure what this flower is right here or what it's supposed to be. Again, I don't know what the fragrance notes are for this either, but this is a sweet floral fragrance that is almost just a little bit intoxicating, and it smells like it's coming from like an orchid scent, like an orchid fragrance note. I also smelled of something else the other day that had a fragrance note in it that was similar to orchid, but I don't remember what that was off the top of my head. So it's kind of, it could be whatever that was that I had smelled of. Like a different floral that's similar to orchid. But I do really like this, and I want to get the actual perfume that goes with this too and wear them together. But I'm sure I have lots of perfumes that I could pair this with and it would still be really good. This is a really good one. Really like this. I don't ever wear it that much, but I want to use it a lot this spring. What's interesting is the floral in here, like that I'm smelling of, it actually reminds me of the color blue. I think that's so interesting. So yeah, I would like to know what type of floral this is. I might actually look up the fragrance notes. If I do, I will include them in the video for you guys. But yeah, I think that's so interesting how the floral that I'm smelling reminds me of the color blue, and then the flower on here is blue. So I'm assuming that whatever that fragrance note is a floral that is a blue flower. So if you guys think you know what it is, comment below. I'm interested to see what y'all think it is, but I will probably look it up so we can figure it out together, because now I'm curious and I have to know. So yeah. Okay, next I have this Pink by Victoria's Secret body mist. This is one that I purchased recently. This is light and happy, and the fragrance notes are sunshine, clementine, wild honeysuckle, and sun-drenched woods. This was in a Victoria's Secret fragrance haul video that I did. This just smells like what it says. It's got the clementine in there and the honeysuckle. It doesn't really smell like a fruity floral in my opinion. Because I haven't mentioned this yet, but I do have another video coming of spring fragrances that are fruity florals that make me think of spring. I have not gone down that scent category yet for the spring season, but I have gathered a lot of them, and I will probably gather the rest of them today. I don't know if I'll film the video today. I probably won't film it until tomorrow, but I do plan to get those fragrances together today for you guys so I can film that video. And so yeah, so if you're interested in seeing that video, make sure you're subscribed and that you have your notifications turned on. So this just smells like, it smells like clementine, and then it's got some sweetness in it that I'm assuming is from the honeysuckle. And then there's a little bit of a base note here that makes this even more tart. I know that clementines can be tart. Sometimes clementines and fragrances smell a little bit sour to me, but once you let it dry down really good, the sourness kind of goes away. And then you're left with just more of like a tart sweetness. And then the woods that are in here, I think the woods are mingling with the clementine to make it like a little bit more tart. It's what I was going to say earlier. But yeah, this is a good one. It's just one of those fragrances. You definitely have to let it dry down really good and then decide what you think about it, because a lot of times fragrances smell completely different once they're all the way dried down, and this is one of those. It definitely has to dry all the way down before it smells its best. But yeah, because it has the clementine in here and the honeysuckle, it makes me think of spring. But again, not really a fruity floral. But I do plan to have a video for you guys coming out that is going to be fruity florals that make me think of spring. I also have a lot of fruity florals that make me think of summer, and then some of them make me think of both. So I'm trying to decide how I'm going to do that video. I don't know if I'm just going to do fruity florals that make me think of spring, or if I'm going to do fruity florals that make me think of spring and summer, and then just do one really long video and start off with the spring and then go to the summer ones. I have not decided on that, but you guys let me know your opinions in the comments, because I would like to know what you would prefer. Would y'all want one long video, or maybe a 2-part video, or would y'all just want these spring fruity florals right now and then me do these summer fruity florals when we get closer to summer? What do y'all prefer? Because I haven't decided how I'm going to do that, but if you have a preference, definitely let me know in the comment section. Okay, so next I have the Stay Gorgeous fragrance by Body Fantasies. I did notice when I was looking at this earlier that it says made in France, and a lot of these say made in USA on the back of them, but this one said made in France. So I thought that was interesting. As we know, like, I think France is very popular as far as like fragrances and stuff. Like, so that made me feel like this was a little bit more higher quality since it was made in France. And I say that because I have purchased like the cheapy perfumes in the past from places like Five Below or just like mom and pop stores. And I noticed that it would be like a $5 cheap perfume, and I would notice that it smelled incredibly good, almost like, you know, like I was smelling of like a designer fragrance or something. And come to find out, I would look on the back and it would say made in France. So from that impression, it made me feel like that, the perfumers in France really know what they're doing. So anytime I see made in France on a fragrance, it automatically upgrades it in my mind. Whether there's an actual difference or not, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that France is known for like perfumery or something. I'm pretty sure. I'm not certain, but I think I have heard that. So I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was really cool. And the Body Fantasies fragrances are really good. These are, to me, these are very good quality fragrance mists. They're more like higher end fragrance mists, but they're not technically, you know, higher end, but they're nicer to me than a lot of the other, you know, just body mists that are on the market or whatever. I really like these. And I did a whole video on my Body Fantasies collection if you're interested in it. But I wanted to include this one. I've actually never worn this. This came in a set of 3 with a couple other different fragrances that I've never worn. And I'm pretty sure that I've had these for a few years now, and I've never worn them. I thought I remembered these smelling like spring fragrances, but I couldn't remember. The other ones that I smelled of that were in this collection were definitely some that would still be appropriate for spring, but they didn't remind me specifically of spring, which is why I didn't include them. I just included this one. But this one is a fragrance that reminds me of this perfume right here. I brought it in here so I could show it to you guys. The Guess perfume for women. This is reminiscent of this type of perfume right here as far as like the way it smells. Like it doesn't I'm not saying the quality is like a perfume. I'm saying this reminds me of this fragrance, but they're definitely not the same thing. So this one is more, this is more sweet and a little bit more, this has a little bit more of like a cleanliness vibe to it. This one also has like a cleanliness vibe as well, but this one, it doesn't have that sweetness to it like the Guess perfume does. So this has more of a tartness in it, and I'm guessing that would be like raspberries, like a raspberry note that's in here. So this one definitely makes me think of spring, because raspberries make me think of spring. So definitely want to include this one, and I definitely want to get some use out of it. Okay, and so next I have Sun Ripened Raspberry. The fragrance notes in this are sun ripened raspberries, strawberry leaves, and sugar crystals. It says, our classic sun ripened raspberry fragrance is the perfect blend of sweet berries and sheer sunlight. So I could not make this video without including this fragrance right here. Raspberry notes, I guess of all kinds, remind me of spring. Because not all raspberry notes smell the same, but pretty much any raspberry is going to make me think of spring. This one is, doesn't smell like your typical raspberry note. It's not super tart at all. And maybe that's because they're sun ripened. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but if you've ever had like fresh garden produce, and I'm just now making this like connection in my head, but like if you've ever had like fresh garden produce, it tastes completely different than store-bought produce. So I'm wondering if this is supposed to be less tart because it's a sun-ripened raspberry and not one that you went and got out of the grocery store. I wonder if that's why that it smells different than your typical raspberry note. But this, to me, smells like, this fragrance smells like, if you had like line-dried linens, not a linen scent, but like line-dried, like laundry of any kind, including linens or just clothes or whatever. That's what this reminds me of. Like, say you had line dried some linens or some clothes and you were going to pick them up and, or pick them off of the, take them down off the clothesline, and you had just like a field of sun-ripened raspberries beside you and the scent was all blending together. That's exactly what this makes me think of. And so I love this scent so much because I get that freshness and cleanliness from it that you would get from like a laundry scent. Not your typical laundry scent, like not laundry from like a product that you would get off the shelves at a store, but like a line-dried laundry scent. And then you have the sweetness in here from the sun-ripened raspberry. And it also, oh, I was going to say that I smelled something in here that smelled like sugar crystals. And that's one of the fragrance notes in here. So yeah, it just all blends together so well. I think the freshness and the cleanliness that's in here is probably coming from the strawberry leaves, because it's not necessarily saying that there's strawberries in here, but the leaves probably are just like a, I would say probably like a cleaner scent. Not the same as like a cleaner scent than like a sweet strawberry scent would be. Not the same thing as like a tea note, but something probably like similar to that. So we're probably not getting like the actual strawberries, just like the strawberry leaf. So that's probably where that's coming from. But I love this scent so much because of the scene that it brings to mind, the fragrance that you would smell if you were in that scene, that scenario where you were, you know, getting your line-dried laundry in and you had like a field of sun-ripened raspberries beside you. Like, isn't it amazing how fragrance just like transports you to like a different place in your mind? That's what it does to me. And also this makes me think of the 90s, which I believe that whenever this came out at SAS, it was part of like a 90s collection or something. So probably somewhere in my childhood, I could have smelled this at Bath and Body Works during the 90s. And that's why it's clicking in my head as something that makes me think of the 90s. But just to add to the description of what this smells like, the field that I would be in picking the strawberries or the raspberries would be in the 90s too. So that's kind of where this is taking me to, and what it's smelling like and what it makes me think of. But definitely it makes me think of spring. So had to include it. Couldn't have made this video without including this one. Love it. Okay, so next, another fragrance that makes me think of spring is Gingham by Bath & Body Works. And the fragrance notes in this are blue freesia, white peach, fresh clementine, violet, and clean musk. So right off the bat, like pretty much all those fragrances are spring, or all the fragrance notes are like spring fragrance notes. You've got the blue freesia, which is a floral. You've got the white peach. Peach definitely makes me think of spring. Clementine, you got the violet, which is a floral, and you got the clean musk. So this is just a fresh and clean scent that makes me think of spring. And this is one that I would normally keep with my fresh and clean fragrances. And sometimes I will move it around. Like I'm always moving my fragrances around. So like sometimes I'll move it with my fresh and clean fragrances. But I also have a section in my bedroom where I keep a lot of like the core line fragrances from Bath & Body Works. And so for a while I kept it there. So I'm not sure where I'm going to put it at when I take it back in my bedroom. I might do a section just for these fragrances right here. But yeah, so I move this one around from time to time. I try to get use out of this throughout the year because I like it so much. But I'm definitely going to be going heavy on it in the spring because I just love this. And I don't wear it as often as I want to. So I want to make an effort to start wearing this fragrance more. And then we have Gingham Love by Bath & Body Works. I love this fragrance so much. It's a lot like this one, but like a completely different fragrance at the same time. And I've heard people say that they don't like this fragrance, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Which I know not everybody agrees on every fragrance. Everybody is different. Everybody likes different things. And like sometimes you can smell of something that you think is the best scent ever, and there's going to be somebody else that doesn't like it. And I think that's another interesting thing about fragrance and how it affects people and how everybody's different. But I love this fragrance. It says the fragrance notes are sugared red berries, blushing freesia, and rose meringue. This playfully romantic fragrance is sweet, warm, and blushing with happiness. It's like love at first sight. So yeah, this is a really good one. I'm going to spray it on my hand. But yeah, this is bright. It's bursting. It's not really floral. It does have a little bit of floral in here because it's got the freesia and then the rose meringue, which meringue is a dessert, but you would still smell the rose, which is a floral. It's bright, it's bursting, it's sugary, it's sweet, but at the same time, it's fresh and almost a little crisp and a little bit clean. And this is just all around such a good fragrance. And I think one of the reasons that I like this so much is because it includes there's so many different facets to this fragrance, and it's so many different things that I like wrapped all in one. So yeah, I really love that. So good. Had to include it. Okay, so next we have Pearberry. This is a favorite. The fragrance notes on here are, I don't know how you say that first word, Anjou. Is it Anjou or Anjou? Pear, wild berries, apple blossom, golden freesia, and blonde woods. It says inspired by the sweet air of a summer picnic, our classic Pearberry fragrance is the perfect blend of juicy pear and wild berries. And that's exactly what this is. Love this. It's shampooey, it's clean, it's fruity. It does have a little bit of floral in here, but you don't really smell the florals that much. This one's really, really good. In my in my video where I talked about the apple fragrance, I compared it to Pearberry. And I think I said that earlier when I was talking about it. These have the same, like, I guess you would say like scent DNA, but they're not the same exact fragrance notes. They're just very similar. And I love fragrances like this. This is so good. Very juicy, shampooey, clean, delicious. Let me spray this out. So yeah, it's clean, it's fresh, it's fruity, it's sweet. It's really, really, really good. And again, pear makes me think of spring. So does apple blossom. And the wild berries in here could be anything like that. It could be raspberry. It could be mixed berries. It could be strawberries. It could be any berry. But I want to say this probably has some raspberry in it. But yeah, I love this fragrance. This is one of my favorite fragrances that I own. And yeah, so I really like it. And it definitely makes me think of spring. Definitely want to include it. Okay, so next we have Champagne Apple and Honey. The fragrance notes on this one are crisp apple, sparkling champagne, jasmine honey, autumn woods. It says, wander through an orchard full of sweet, juicy apples and bask in the warm autumn breeze. So I know a lot of people associate this fragrance with the fall, and so do I, but I also really like apple notes in the springtime. I said that earlier, and then also honey notes, of course. So this is perfect for right now, and I'm excited to get a lot of use out of it because I always wear these types of fragrances in the spring and in the fall. They just make me think of spring. So yeah, so I really like this. This one is very shampooey. It's sweet. It's got the honey that stands out in there, the champagne apple. It's just really, really good. And again, it does make me think of fall too, but it also really makes me think of spring. So I always bring fragrances out like this in the springtime, and I'm super excited to use this and get some use out of it. Definitely wanted to include that one. And then I have Country Apple by Bath & Body Works, and the fragrance notes are apple blossom, fresh mignonette. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. If you guys know, let me know. Sheer sunlight and orchard woods. It says, our classic country apple fragrance evokes your first bite of a juicy apple in a sun-kissed orchard. So again, just another classic apple fragrance. This one definitely makes me think of spring. This fragrance is special to me because it does have the apple in there, but it also smells super, super fresh and clean and like a little bit shampooey, which is right up my alley. That's one of like my favorite types of fragrances. And I really like this. The pearberry one and the apple, champagne apple and honey, and this one all smell that way. And the next one that I'm going to talk about, but really like this. The first time I saw this fragrance, I didn't think I was going to like it, but then I smelled of it and was like, oh my goodness, this is so much better than I realized. So this is a really good one. Okay, and then next we have Sweet Apple Cider by Bodycology. It says the fragrance notes are fresh apples and mulled spices, and on the back it says, embrace the changing seasons with the sweet scent of crisp apples. So I really feel like they meant for this to be a transitional fragrance from summer to fall. I use this for that. I also use this during the fall and in the spring. In my opinion, you really don't smell the mulled spices. This smells almost exactly like Country Apple. To me, it smells like a dupe for Country Apple. Not an exact dupe, but they're very, very similar. So like the way that I described this one smells almost identical to it. I think one time I was smelling this very closely, and I could sort of almost smell what I believe was supposed to be the mulled spices, but trust me, if this truly smelled like mulled spices, in my opinion, I would not be wearing it. Like, I detest any type of like apple cinnamon fragrance, or that's why I don't do a lot of the home fragrances during fall, or even some of the Bath & Body Works ones during fall, because I do not want anything that's got like, apple cinnamon or anything like that during the fall time. Or any time of the year. But this one does not smell like that at all. It really does smell like an apple drink, but without any type of like spice note in there. This was another one that when I saw it, I did not think I was going to like this, but I was like, well, let me try it out anyway. And I smelled of it and I was like, wow, that smells nothing like what the description says. So that's why I went ahead and got it. And again, it smells a lot like Country Apple from Bath & Body Works. Okay, so next we have Bourbon Strawberry and Vanilla, and the fragrance notes on this are bourbon vanilla, garden strawberry, apricot nectar, pink jasmine, and white oak. Really, really love this fragrance. I did a full review on this on my YouTube channel. You guys can go check it out if you're interested. So if you have not smelled this before and you just read the title of the fragrance, you would probably be a little bit put off by why I included this in this video. Especially if you have smelled Cozy Vanilla Bourbon by Bath & Body Works. That's definitely not something I would consider a spring scent at all. But this smells nothing like that. And I said that in my review video that I did. I was really confused when I first smelled this because I was like, this smells so much different than I expected it to. When I read Bourbon, Strawberry, and Vanilla, I'm thinking of Cozy Vanilla Bourbon in my head by Bath & Body Works. And I was thinking that it would be like Cozy Vanilla Bourbon with strawberry thrown in, and that's what I expected to smell. But this smells absolutely nothing like that. The bourbon vanilla in here only adds just like a little bit of sweetness to this, and that is it. The garden strawberry and the apricot nectar are what really stand out to me in this fragrance. The garden strawberry in here is not like the typical strawberry notes that we get, especially in like the more gourmand fragrances. I thought that was really interesting. This truly smells like if you had little garden strawberries, like you had a little strawberry garden and you had, you know, those little tiny garden strawberries when they first start growing and they're not super big yet, but they're ripe enough to eat. Like that's what this makes me think of. And so it's just a different note. And I think it mingles with the apricot nectar and enhances the difference in this strawberry note compared to other strawberry notes that we usually smell in fragrances. So strawberry notes don't necessarily make me think of spring, but this particular one does. And then, like I said, the apricot nectar is in here. Apricot makes me think of spring. And it mingles with that garden strawberry and just produces a very spring-like fragrance, in my opinion. Not to mention it's got the pink jasmine as well. So this is very spring, in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to wearing this, and I do really like it. I actually don't think I've worn this at all yet, so really excited to wear this one. Okay, so next we have Buttercups and Berry Bellini. This has notes of strawberry puree, buttercup flowers, and bubbly Prosecco. It says, let's get together in the garden and toast to a celebration in bloom. So that description and the packaging automatically makes me think of spring because I'm thinking spring garden party. This has strawberries in it. This strawberry is different than the last strawberry that I described. It's got raspberries on the packaging, and it does not say raspberries in the fragrance notes, but to me that doesn't mean that it's not in here. It also doesn't mean that it is in here just because it's on the packaging, but I feel like this probably has raspberries in it because to me, it smells like a mixture of strawberry and some raspberries. But the sweetness in here from the strawberries is really, really good. And I feel like that buttercup adds to the sweetness as well. Also, buttercups bloom during the spring, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that I saw some buttercups the other day when I was dropping my daughter off at school. I'm pretty sure that's what that flower was that I saw. So this definitely makes me think of spring. This is sweet, fruity, shampoo-y. It kind of reminds me of like when you go to a hair salon, like, you know, like when they like shampoo your hair. I feel like there's a specific scent that is associated with like salon shampoos. That also is what this reminds me of. And I think I even heard somebody else on YouTube say that as well, that it kind of reminded them of like a salon, the hair salon. And I don't really remember what they specifically said it reminded them of at the hair salon, but that's what it makes me think of. But yeah, this one's really good. This smells so good and sweet and a little bit flirty, and I feel like it almost has a higher end vibe to it. So really like this one a lot. Really wanted to include that one. Okay, so next I have Beautiful Day by Bath & Body Works. This screams spring, in my opinion. The fragrance notes are sun-kissed apple, sparkling cassis, wild daisies, pink peony, and fresh woods. So couldn't make this video without including this one. I mean, those are all pretty much like spring fragrance notes, in my opinion. This is part of the core line, but I don't think they always have Beautiful Day on the shelves. Like, I think you can only get this at certain times. But yeah, this is very, very springy. Like, this is probably the most spring fragrance that I have in here. So this is fresh and clean and a little bit fruity, but like in a mellow way. And you definitely smell like the florals that are in here. This brings to mind like a field of daisies. Is daisy a fragrance? Yeah, wild daisies. So this brings to mind like a field of daisies, blue skies, and you're just like chilling in a field, like just going for like a walk. That's what this makes me think of. And this also has a little bit of like a laundry freshness to it, but it's very subtle and it doesn't take over the fragrance. But yeah, this one definitely makes me think of spring, and I had to include it. Also, the packaging on this particular Beautiful Day fragrance is really pretty, in my opinion. I like how they did that. Okay, so next I have Lush Orchid Amber by Victoria's Secret. This one came out more recently, and I have showed this in some of my other videos. This is rich orchid petals, Pulse with Amber and Fresh Pear Lavish Blossom. This just smells like straight up pears to me. Like, I really don't smell much else when I smell this. And I think I said that in the other video it was in. Like, you can tell that the orchid's in here, and you can tell that the amber is in here. But it mainly just smells like pears, and pears make me think of spring. So, wanted to include this one. Okay, and then next we have Sunshine Haze. This has notes of airy honeysuckle and jasmine musk, illuminated by the sun. So, this is one of the fragrances that I was referring to when I said I really should have included this in my floral fragrance video, but I did not. And I think the reason I forgot to include it was because it was in with my Fresh and Clean fragrances. And I just didn't really think to look through those. I didn't think I'd really have any true floral scents in there. But I found this when I was looking through my Fresh and Clean fragrances when I was compiling the different fragrances for this video. And I definitely wanted to include it because I do wear this one more in the springtime. And this definitely smells like honeysuckle and jasmine musk. It says illuminated by the sun. I think they're saying, I've said this before, sometimes when they put these little descriptions on here, you really don't know if they're directly telling you that it's just a description of how the fragrance smells or it's another note that's in the fragrance. But in my opinion, and I didn't really think about this till now, this has a sunshine note in it. So in my opinion, it smells like it has a sunshine note. I feel like that's what they're telling us there, illuminated by the sun. So it's supposed to be like honeysuckles and jasmine illuminated by the sun. And that's what it smells like. So I think they are telling us that it's another note that's in there, and it's supposed to be like a sunshine note. And sunshine notes are definitely a thing. If you're not super familiar with like fragrance and fragrances, different types of fragrances, sunshine is definitely something that is used as a note. And I've said before in my videos, again, if you're not familiar with various fragrance notes, to me, sunshine notes are very similar to sunflower notes, and they're also similar to apricot notes, in my opinion. But yeah, it's very good. Really like this one. I have paired this with Loved by Lauren Conrad. It's a perfume, and that one pairs really well with this. So I will probably wear it with that perfume at some point during the spring. Okay, so next we have Jasmine Rainfall, and the fragrance notes in here are ivory, jasmine, and dewy pear, Through the Water. So again, with the description, we don't know if they're just, you know, giving a description of what the fragrance is like, or if it's another fragrance note that's in here. But this is one that I believe this came out last year, but I'm not sure. Maybe towards the beginning of last year. And I really like this collection. I think I know I have at least one more that was in this collection. I really liked it. I think I had got the other ones and didn't like them though, and returned them. But this one, you definitely smell the jasmine, obviously. And I can get why they're saying ivory jasmine. This almost reminds me of like a bar soap. Isn't there like an ivory bar soap? It reminds me of that. And then it's got the pear in here. This is not super watery, but I can tell that they meant for this to be not necessarily aquatic, but like a clean, fresh water scent, but not in a watery way. More of like a dewy way, like the way it says the dewy pear. Kind of like that. So if you were sitting beside a river and there was some pears, you were snacking on pears, and there was some beautiful ivory jasmine flowers, that's what this makes me think of. And it's very soapy. It's very clean. It's so delicious and so good. I love this fragrance so much. But yeah, I do think that the Through the Water is an additional fragrance note in here. Again, they could just be describing what the fragrance is like, but I feel like there's got to be some additional water in here than just the dewiness from the pear, the dewy pear. But yeah, really good fragrance. Definitely makes me think of spring. And then the last one that I wanted to include in this video is Apple Blossom by Body Fantasies. This is just a green apple scent. Body Fantasies came out with this fragrance a while back. And since they came out with this one in Ocean Mist, which was the last two like new fragrances they came out with, I don't think they've came out with any more. So they really need to get on it, because It's been a minute since they came out with some new fragrances, as far as I know. But yeah, this is just a green apple scent. There's some florals thrown in here. Those kind of look like cherry blossom flowers, but I'm not saying that's what it is. It's just kind of what it looks like to me. And then I believe those are like flower buds. I don't think they're any type of like berry or anything. But I've said before, these Body Fantasies fragrance mists can get kind of complex. Like they tend to put a lot of fragrance notes in here, like more like it's a perfume or something. They really go overboard with the complexity of these fragrances, which I appreciate. I don't dislike that at all. So I don't know what all is in here, but this mainly just smells like a green apple with some florals thrown in. So definitely wanted to include it. So yeah, so that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like. That's not gonna stay. I don't know why I keep moving it. But if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. And if you have not subscribed yet to my channel, make sure you're subscribed. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.